Hello, in this video we're going to show you how to add a supplier to your Freeagent account. Here we are at the dashboard then. To access our supplier list, we go up to the contacts section at the top left. And what you're presented with is a list of all your contacts. So this is not just suppliers, this is customers and suppliers in the same time. You can narrow it down if you wanted to. But basically all we have to do from here is just sort of click add new contact. We're not being very specific in terms of whether they're a supplier or a customer with Freeagent. They keep it quite simple in that respect. So once we click add new contact, we just basically go through the fields that are then presented and it requires some information for you. You'll notice that some of these have red asterisks next to them. That's where we definitely need some information. But I would advise that you try and fill in as much as possible just to help automate things further down the line when you do actually have a dispute perhaps with a supplier, or you need to record some information for them. In this screen you may have already recorded it to save you a little bit of time. So we're just going to drop some details in here. So I'm going to have John Smithson, Smithson Limited. Even though there's no asterisk next to the email addresses, the main email or the billing email address, I highly recommend that you use them. It just helps automate things a little bit further down the line when perhaps, for example, with this being a supplier, if we choose to pay them, we can actually send them an invoice to say payment's been sent, etc. And it will pull in the email address from these records. So you may as well, if you've got them, drop them in there. So I'm going to do john@smithson.com. And then the billing email address is more to do with if you have a separate place where you send information about payments or where purchase invoices come from. So john@smithson.com may be the main director, but the billing email address might be accounts@smithson.com. I'm just going to leave that blank for the time being. I don't need to fill that in for this example. Certainly for phone numbers then, I would highly recommend that we drop some details in there, not least because if you have a dispute or you need to get in touch with these guys, Freeagent's your main source of information. So you can go on here, get their phone number and get in touch with them pretty quickly, rather than clogging up your entire phone book on your mobile phone, where other team members may not have access to that phone book. So we may as well keep and centralise the information as much as possible. So again, I'm just going to drop in some details about their address, which just again in the future helps any of the team contact them. Perhaps they need to write a letter or they need to visit these guys, so we may as well centralise that information. Then we move on to invoicing options and default payment terms. So because this is a supplier, and they may offer you some credit terms, so it might be 7 days, 15, 30, etc. By putting a number in here, for example 30 days, what that does is every time you log a purchase with this supplier and say date it today, it will then add 30 days onto today and say that's when the amount of the invoice is going to become due for payment. So it will help with cash flow planning. And when we get into some of the reports, or if you have a look on the dashboard on Freeagent, you will see that it will give you an indication as to things that have become overdue for payment. And so helps you plan your cash flow, helps you manage and keep in the good books with your suppliers. So I highly recommend that you put payment terms in there, just to let Freeagent be a little bit more of an admin assistant for yourselves. Then we're just going to brush over the two next boxes. They're not particularly important for basic examples. And then we get on to VAT. So if this supplier is a VAT registered supplier, we'll drop in some details there, and again it will help automate filling in some data. So if we buy something from these guys, we put in the net amount. Because they know they're VAT registered, it will then attempt to claim VAT based on that net amount, or allow you to choose either 20% or a different percentage rate. And then finally all we're going to do is click create new contact. You could click the other button to add a new supplier if you want to get into the habit of just entering a few at a time, but for our purposes we're just going to do create new contact. And once that's saved, it takes us through to this supplier's dashboard, this contacts dashboard, which there isn't anything on at the minute, but certainly once you get going and log receipts, log purchase invoices, it will start popping up here, start giving you a really good visual of how much activity is going through this particular contact. And it's also where we can edit details. So if you ever wanted to get back to this point, if we go to our contacts menu at the top left, And then what we can do is we can scroll down. You can either choose one of the quick shortcuts here, or we can scroll down and we can find the particular supplier. And in this case, we've got Smithson Limited right here. So if I click on those, or if I click Edit, it will allow me to go back to their dashboard, and we can override any information that's in here already if they've moved premises, changed email address, changed phone number, or even just view the activity that we've got going on with them. So that's it. That's all there is to it. So hope that's helped, and thanks for watching.